Melissa Otto, Head of Visible Alpha Research, S&P Global Market Intelligence. Good afternoon, good evening, Melissa. So nice to have you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here at Negocios Televisión. Melissa, I wanted to ask you, with all this environment about Nvidia's performance, Nvidia's Blackwell's as well, the market is very focused now on the performance of this company, data center products. Is the demand currently exceeding supply, and how might that impact revenue expectations for the next year, can affect and impact?
Absolutely. It's a very interesting topic. I mean, Q3 came in ahead of Visible Alpha consensus. Q4 expectations for revenue were $2 billion ahead of estimates. And I think as we look into 2026, it will be very important to understand where the profitability will be for the data center revenues.
Melissa, consensus expects Blackwell's gross margin to reach the 75.5% in the third quarter and 76.1% in the fourth quarter. How significant is this for investors, and what risks could affect these margins going forward?
Yeah, gross margin for data centers is a very important component to expectations. And based on Visible Alpha consensus for next year, the market is expecting 76.3%. So I think, based on where we're seeing this year, basically the gross margin is expected to be finalized around 74%. So the market is expecting over a 200 basis points jump from this year to next year. And that's going to be an important trajectory to meet.
Melissa, next year's consensus EPS is $6.9, with potential ranges between $8 and $10 per share. How should investors interpret this range, especially given this uncertainty in China's demand?
Right. I mean, I think, right now the consensus is right around $7. And as you alluded to, we're getting some of these higher estimates in that $8 to $10 range. I think, it's how the profitability shakes out, and the fact that the company is expected to maintain revenue momentum. These two elements will be critical for next year's expectations.
Nvidia has been a major driver in the AI sector over the past 2 years. Can the company sustain this momentum, or do you see signs that fundamentals might slow down?
We don't see any signs of slowing down, and this is really based on the fact that the CapEx spending for the global service providers continues to be very strong. This year, cloud service providers are expected to spend about $400 billion, and next year it's going to be closer to $500 billion. So I think between this year and next year, the data center investment is going to continue to be very strong for GPUs.
During Jensen's one keynote at GTC, there was a lot of excitement about collaborations and new products. Which announcements should investors pay closest attention to in terms of revenue impact?
Yeah, I think Nvidia is continuing to partner with many players within the ecosystem, and I think they're all quite interesting and important from different vantage points. I think the tie-ups with, say, Dell, Oracle, with Microsoft, these are all really compelling partnerships that I think demonstrate that the company is trying to find ways to retain its competitive advantage.
There are concerns about overinvestment in the AI sector, with nearly $400 billion projected in CapEx this year. How should investors weigh Nvidia's growth potential against fears of this market bubble that is talking about? Everyone's talking about this market bubble, right?
I mean, there is some concern of overbuild, but I think, when we think about a bubble, at least the way I define it, it's based on companies taking on a lot of debt to really finance that investment. And we don't see that from the likes of Microsoft, Amazon, or Meta, Alphabet. They have the cash flow to support the investment. The question, though, is, are they overbuilding? And is there overinvestment? And that, I think, isn't very clear, because we don't have a very strong sense in terms of what the total addressable market is. We can just see that from Nvidia's standpoint, the demand for GPUs continues to outpace supply.
Looking farther ahead, what indicators or signals would suggest the Nvidia can continue growing without contributing to an overvaluation in the AI sector?
Based on the visibility that we have for the next 18 months, the growth continues to be quite strong. Beyond 18 months, I think questions start to arise.
Mm-hmm. And if you had to give one piece of advice to investors, Melissa, and following Nvidia and the AI sector right now, what would it be?
Nvidia continues to be very strong, formidable player. I think it's important to just keep an eye on the space and stay close to it, because things can change fast.
Well, we will see what happens, and with all this situation of bubble or not bubble, everyone's talking about that. But thank you so much, Melissa, head of Visible Alpha Research, S&P Global Market Intelligence, and so sorry for the delay. It has been a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.